So, do you think that after we hit record, should we talk about the tentacles or leave those out?
I think they're pretty self-explanatory.
Oh shit! What's up? Oh, hi. Black Tower Podcast, Wheel of Time Podcast. You may have heard of us. Let's be real.
First time tentacle enjoyer.
Oh, goddamn. Hey, Andrew. How the hell are you?
Hey, Josh. Hey, man. Another day in paradise.
Oh, you said it. You said it.
Spent a lot of time on the road today, and I'm tired.
Yeah?
5 hours of driving in total today.
Dang, son.
To get one computer up and running.
Wow. That's some good times. You know, I mean that's a good payday though, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, you
Government
got
rate
paid
of mileage
to drive
about
today.
180.
And you didn't have to deal with like customers. You know, you were just like, "What's up? Let's."
Oh
go.
no, I did.
Well, I'm saying like it wasn't like
I have my
Uber.
number.
You didn't have someone in the back seat being like, "Oh my God, is this my turn? Did you miss my turn? Oh no, you're good. Okay, no, just keep going."
Yeah, I don't think I could ever drive for a ride share. Couldn't do it.
I don't think I could.
Also, I'd have to get a different vehicle to do it, and then the second somebody scratched it, no.
Yeah, I can see that. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Black Tower Podcast. We are here just slinging some taint, talking about the Wheel of Time. We love the Wheel of Time. We know you love the Wheel of Time. And if you love the Wheel of Time, like we think you love the Wheel of Time, then what you should do is go to a website called blacktowerpod.com. It's for people who love the Wheel of Time and who love Black Tower Podcast. But if you just love the Wheel of Time, you're not so crazy about the Black Tower Podcast, that's cool too. You can just go to The Great Blight, thegreatblight.com. It's not just for dark friends anymore. The Great Blight has breakdowns. That should be their tagline.
Is that like a Wheel of Time way to tell somebody to go to hell? Like you can just go to the Great Blight.
To the Blight with you. I feel like that should be their tagline though. The Great Blight. It's not just for Shadow Spawn anymore. You know?
A good tagline.
We should contact Nabliss and sell it to him. How much do you think he'd be willing to pay?
About $3.50.
He'd be like, "Here's all the money in my pocket," and it's 75 cents.
Pulls out his finger and flips it off.
Now, but the Great Blight has breakdowns of characters, chapters, etc., and it is spoiler friendly. So you don't have to go to a website, look it up your favorite character. I don't know. Let's pick one at random. Varen. And accidentally read something about the character's story arc that spoils the series for you later on. You know? I mean, Varen's pretty even-keeled. You don't have to worry about that too much.
I mean, yeah. It's what you think. And then, bam, you find out she shops at baddragon.com.
Oh, shit. She about that Shadow Spawn life.
Hey man, it's research.
It is research, and you know them Brown sisters, the Brown Aja, are known for their thoroughness in research. But tonight we're not talking about Varen. We're not talking about the Brown Aja. We're not talking about Aes Sedai. We're not talking about Shadow Spawn. It is another famous, very famous background breakdown. Do you want to tell them who we're breaking down tonight, Andrew?
I mean, I could.
Or should we draw it out a little bit? Should we edge them a little bit and make them listen to a spoiler warning first?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Who are we talking about? We're talking about.
Tell me when to stop. Just randomly say stop, and that's whatever one I stop on is the
one. Stop.
No, it's this one.
Welcome to the Black Tower, a Wheel of Time podcast. All right, let's check this one. This podcast will likely be spoiling books 1 through... Oh, what's this? An envelope addressed to me. No name, though. Let's see what's inside. Oh my. This podcast will likely spoil all the books in the series, and apparently being a Patreon will expose you to information that should be left unseen. Protect yourself by pulling that spoiler condom all the way on. And I need a drink. That's way more of Andrew than I have ever wanted to see. Why would you braid it down there?
Why would you not? If you got it, flaunt it.
It's an app spoiler warning because people should be getting envelopes here very, very shortly. They should have went out in the mail Monday morning or whenever they did Monday morning mail pickup.
Get ready for your envelope, Moshadi.
Yeah, man. Open it at your own risk.
Waffles says, I'm in danger.
I would say watch your eyes for the pop-up book, but it's like the size of a Tic Tac, so if you pull an eye out, that's your own problem.
Maybe they're nearsighted, they gotta read like this close. Ding.
Oh, that's me. I made the conscious decision that I wasn't putting my contacts back in today, so everything's like still kind of blurry. That would be me.
Love it.
Being super spring loaded.
Perfect.
Speaking of things that are tiny and annoying and might try to poke your eye out, we're breaking down the Gawyn of the Tinkers. We're going to talk about Aram.
Oh, Aram. Oh, God. Aram the Tinker. You know, he starts out as such like an innocent boy, right? He's just such an idiot. He bout that, like he's sweet on the ladies, you know. He likes to impress.
Be a little fucking Rizzler, and it doesn't work.
He's a little Rizzler. He tries to be. And Gawyn has never met anyone outside the Two Rivers, so it totally works on her.
Yeah. So one person he successfully kind of rizzes has literally never talked to anybody she didn't go with before.
Has never even seen another man.
Man. It's like every freaking anime where like this used to be an all-girls school, but this is the first year they're allowing male students. Here's our 3 male students, and they're all perverts. It is. Probably kind of the same for Aram because he's like, oh, you know, everybody else here is kind of like peace, love, and that Two Rivers to back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You know it.
Gawyn might be the first person that doesn't smell like freaking Two Rivers to back and whatever else the Tinker Camp smells like.
Roast vegetables. Probably
roast vegetables. I don't know. I don't know how much of the way of the leaf includes like getting rid of bacteria from your skin. So I don't know how popular like bathing in the stream is.
How do they hygiene? How does that work?
Yeah. If you get sick, can you fight the virus, or must you just let it run its course because you would be killing bacteria or a virus or a fungus? If you get athlete's foot and you're a tinker, can you actually cure it, or can you not because you'd be killing a virus?
Oh,
or I'm sorry, a fungus.
We need to get the puppets in here so that they can answer these questions for us.
I don't think the puppets have the athlete foot problem.
If humans get athlete's foot, what do puppets get?
Moth foot?
Moth foot. It would be moth foot.
Yeah. That sounds like it's easy to fix. Like you wouldn't have to kill anything. You just have to sew up the hole. Which, in full circle, is what they should do to Aram because this man should not procreate.
You know,
boy.
So I know I've talked about
boy.
I know I've talked about the Mark Twain story, The Man That Corrupted Hadleyburg, right? And if you've never read it, it's great. It's a short story. It's a real easy read. And it takes place in a city called Hadleyburg. And it's a city that boasts itself as the most honest city ever. Doesn't matter. We will tell the truth, right? And there's people in there that are like pleasant enough. And then there's people in there who are like total assholes. And they're like, well, I'm just being honest. And a man comes in and basically makes up a story about someone that saved his life, and he can't remember who it was, but he came back because he promised to give them a bunch of gold for saving his life, blah, blah, blah. The city ends up just eating itself in the name of, pretending to be this person because they were tempted by the money. Aram strikes me as, and the moral of the story is, you can claim to be honest, but if that honesty has never been tested, if your honesty is only available because you've never had a reason to want to tell a lie, you've never struggled with having to tell the truth, you're not an honest person. You're a person who's just had it easy.
Oh yeah, that's like my whole argument about the oath rods.
Yeah.
Is it noble that you don't lie whenever you physically cannot? Like,
well, what do we learn about the Aes Sedai over the next 1,000 years or however many years it is? They learn to circumvent the three oaths left and right.
Yeah.
They just find ways around it.
Aram, on the other hand, he doesn't really like try to circumvent. Like,
nope.
He's like, I'm not a massive fan of the way they kind of introduced him as him being kind of candid and cagey about the way of the leaf and like mocking of it in the TV show, because in the books he's not. He's very much a believer and holds to it. And because he spends like half of it's rizzing trying to get into a Gawyn's small clothes, and the other half is him trying to like evangelize her and Perrin into the way of the leaf. Mainly her. Just anytime Perrin's like gives him that jealous look, Aram's like, you'd feel better if you followed the way of the leaf. And he's like, no, you just want me to follow the way of the leaf because if I take a vow of non-violence, I can't wring your neck for trying to take my girl.
It's so true.
It's freaking all it is.
It's so true.
But he's all about it because he's the one that kind of just like this part I did like they did in the TV show where he gave the whole like speech about, actually no, he didn't give the speech about what the way of the leaf is in the TV show. That was
Isla did.
That was what's her name? Yeah, Isla did. But in the books he did. Like he like gave the dumbed down version so that even Gawyn could understand what it is. Yeah. But like he's all about it until he gets tested. But in the TV show he's all like, oh, they're outsiders, Mom. Of course they don't know it. Right. It's just some silly back and forth thing you got to say.
The silly tradition that the old people follow.
And then, like, even then, like, in the books, Isla is, like, anytime Aram, like, makes a comment that might be cagey about the way of the leaf and the way they live, she's, like, very quickly to look at him and be like, fucking fix yourself.
Yeah.
But in the TV show, she's like, oh, just... Yeah. What a kidder.
Yeah.
So, I more so believe that TV show Aram turns out the way book Aram does than I do book Aram turns out the way Aram does in the books.
I don't know though, because we get book Aram is very much sort of a like I agree with your assessment that his respect for the way of the leaf is different between the two. But in the book, I would say that his love of the way of the leaf is more for show. It's like those people that go to church every Sunday, but they go because it's a social gathering. They don't really care about the faith. What they care about is keeping up appearances and you know what I mean? That's what Aram seemed like to me. He felt like that kind of a churchgoer, which if you're that kind of a churchgoer, that's fine. I'm not throwing shade at anybody right now. I'm just saying he doesn't follow the way of the leaf out of devotion. He follows the way of the leaf because it's the world he was introduced to. He has no faith in it, but he starts preaching at it, and Egwene gives him doe eyes, and he's like all about it all of a sudden. He's like a fucking 16-year-old kid who, I'm gonna do the best. I'm gonna be the best that ever was, like just to impress someone, and it's really funny.
16-year-old kid that goes on their first overnight youth camping trip, and there happens to be a couple of attractive girls there. He's like,
Yeah.
let me preach the gospel to you because telling you about Jesus is going to get you to show some ankle.
Show some ankle. We
Completely wild, and it never works unless it's the pastor's kid. For some reason, it's always the pastor's kid.
Yeah.
Always.
Which I guess Aram technically kind of is the pastor's kid.
You know, fair enough. Yeah.
Pastor's grandkid. Which counts.
Yeah.
Because he did get the scene where Isla straight up says, we don't get to see him much.
Wasn't she actually his mom?
Isla?
Is she his mom? Or his mom is just with them all. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
For some reason I didn't think that Aram's mom was some mysterious unnamed tinker.
Yes, Aram's mom is indeed a mysterious unnamed tinker. But we leave Aram and his traveling people troop in book 1. Like it's the Eye of the World, and they split off. And we talked about this, I think last week, where Rayan is like, "Yep, we're going east. We're going to the spine of the world. We're gonna find a steading and we're gonna hang out." And that didn't happen. Like, what happened to them? Why did they end up going west?
Or why they wound up changing directions?
Yeah, because they end up in the Two Rivers.
Yeah, like I mean, a while later, but did they ever tell us exactly why they changed directions? Because I know they initially changed directions because Rain was like, "Sky look weird. We go different direction."
Yeah, but that's when he said that. He said, "We're going to the east. We're going to the spine of the world." Like they were going away from the Two Rivers. So
I would imagine it could have had something to do with the Aiel crossing and them hearing about it and knowing that the Aiel are a warring people. And so if they're crossing into the wetlands, that probably means there's going to be a fight.
And especially with the Shido not seemingly following the rules and just killing everyone.
Yeah.
So
even then, I don't know that Rain and them like really know a ton about like the rules for the Aiel.
Right.
I mean, they definitely could because we know that like the Aiel don't mess with the Tinkers. Like they let them do like travel the waste like perfectly fine. Yeah. They leave them alone, but they like look at them as like naive, like hopeless people because they're polar opposite from how they're living their life now. Little do they know they're all one and the same, kind of.
This could be so. This is a good time to remind everybody we are doing a Black Tower podcast Wheel of Time reread. The month of June is for The Great Hunt, and the month of July will be for The Dragon Reborn. It will be wonderful. So if you're following along, it's still not too late. You can still catch up. Or if you want, you can just jump in on your favorite book because that's totally cool too. And where I was going with this is the next time we see them, Perrin has gone back to the Two Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, this exact same Tinker traveling troupe has gone to the Two Rivers. Now, do you think that them meeting Perrin and Egwene had influence on that? Do you think like they were specifically going to the Two Rivers? Or was it just Rain being like, "Oh, it's just time to change direction. Oh, look, we are here in the Two Rivers."
I don't know. I mean, because I don't know that, or there's nothing that I can right off remember that Aram or the Tinkers do that winds up being like critical for Two Rivers. I could just be forgetting something for sure.
Yeah.
Like they're just kind of there. I think like at most they help remind Perrin that like there's value in peace or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Um. Hmm.
Well,
I think so. Yeah, I think that might be the only thing that Aram does is like he's yeah. I think he like serves like as far as the story goes, how Elias cautioned him against being too peaceful or too ready to kill or fight.
right.
Aram like becomes this really fervent, like willing to fight and kill anybody at any second thing. And so he wants to be an example for Perrin on what it looks like to be too far into the violence aspect of
Yeah.
things. But then the rest of the Tinkers also show him like what it looks like to be so far into the peace thing. So he gets the contrast of both sides.
Yeah.
Kind of like how he gets
Also,
with Elias and Noam.
yeah.
The like extreme ends of being the Wolf Brother. That's my best guess as to why Aram comes back and the purpose he serves, because a lot of what Aram does is during the whole we're gonna walk through the snow for 2 books.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I was wrong. We see him again in Shadow Rising, not in Dragon Reborn.
Oh yeah.
So,
I say like I clearly remember that. Like now I mean that makes sense. I think that's about whenever
oh yes, of course.
Shadow Rising is whenever like the whole battle of the 2 rivers and all happens, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the Battle of the Two Rivers. Aram loses his mom. His mom is killed by Trollocs.
Yeah, they're camping near the 2 rivers.
Yeah.
Just like the White Cloaks are as well. And the 2 rivers has been dealing with like random guerrilla attacks by Trollocs.
Yeah.
Whenever Perrin and them come back. Because he almost pulls a bit of a Matt, just he doesn't use luck to do it, where Matt was trying to avoid all the fighting and carrying
Yes.
and amasses a military force. Perrin kind of does the same thing. Like Tam and everybody are like, we're not going to let you go by yourself. We're going to go with you, and starts roaming the countryside with all the 2 rivers men and hunting down Trollocs and everything. And then they want to like all the Terran Ferry come to him, and the Davin Ride folks come with him.
It's almost like he's got like a pull, of
he pulled a muscle like a hammy,
weaving around him, giving him what
Charlie horse.
Charlie horse, that's it.
Yeah, he's a Charlie horse.
But Aram, upon seeing the death of his mother, starts listening more carefully to the words that Perrin spoke all those weeks and months ago, and saying, if I had a sword, I could have saved her. I could have saved her if I had a sword. And Perrin is like looking at him. And the thing is, too, is we get back in book 1, we get this telegraphed to us by Min's viewing of Perrin. She straight up says, I see, a falcon on one shoulder. I see the blah, 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 blah. I see a tinker with a sword. And everybody's what the hell? Like, that's weird. And Perrin's just like, yeah, it sounds like she's making stupid stuff up, because that's just weird. But now here we have...
She's playing 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah. So he grabs a sword out of a barrel. Like, he just grabs one at random. He's just like, oh, I need a sword, and grabs a sword and says,
because Isla's there and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? No.
No. Isla's heartbroken, which she has every right to be. Like, she expresses, even back in book 1, she expresses like concern over his behavior. So it's kind of like, it kind of feels like she's very justified in this concern. And given the fact that he just straight up did exactly what she was afraid of doing, like,
I mean, if you're respectful of other people's culture and beliefs, then it's understandable why she's so upset.
right.
If you're, not,
Not.
then you're just wrong. So
Right.
like people
Yep.
believe and have different lifestyles, and the Tinkers definitely are one of those. And we know it stems all the way back from the Jin Aiel, so it's a rich
Yeah.
heritage of turning the other cheek.
Well, and I even love that the Tinkers give us a society whose beliefs are so far removed from most of us and what we believe that it's real easy to just be like Perrin was in that first book and be like, nope, if someone comes up and attacks me, I'm gonna lay him out flat. I will kill someone who comes into my house, and most of us kind of have that same sort of mentality, as where I will, I will kill in defense of my family, and the Way of the Leaf doesn't see it that way. They see it as, I would lay down and die if need be. I would rather die than allow harm be dealt to another living thing by my hand. And that is kind of an extreme belief that you don't have to agree with, you don't have to go along with, you don't even have to follow, but you do have to respect that other people live that belief. And it's one of the things I love about the Wheel of Time is, you get this exposure to all these different cultures, and every time you want to say something like, well, yeah, it's really easy to say that because it's a fantasy book, well, then we learn about all these other societies that share these exact same beliefs
Oh yeah,
that Robert Jordan drew from.
yeah.
And it's great.
I mean, isn't it is it not isn't it a Buddhist or at least one sect of Buddhism that teaches like don't even like swat a fly kind of thing, like all life is sacred, you shouldn't take any life. And that's not exactly the same thing as this, but it's in the same vein of like, to a degree, like fanatical pacifism.
Yes.
Fanatical in terms of like it being a very fervently followed belief, not insane. So, but yeah, I think like Perrin even like tells Aram, he's like, yeah, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And Fael is like, every man must make his own decision.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because Fael is like balls deep in her manipulation arc.
She is. That is for sure. Which we can talk about later. But
oh yeah,
he actually comes. I was just gonna say, Perrin actually does kind of wrestle with this for a minute because he's like, that's not what your family wants. But he ultimately decides in the end that it's your choice. And if you've made the choice to go ahead and participate in, in learning the sword and abandoning the Way of the Leaf, I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just not. And he asks Tam to start teaching him the sword.
Not the sword.
The sword.
Oh, I did forget. He does save Perrin's life during this whole thing.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He jumps right in, and he seems to have a real talent for the sword. Like he enjoys himself some killing.
Yeah. Well, it also kind of like it kind of like parallels the visions that we see that Rand has whenever he goes into Viridian the first time, and he finally gets to the ancestors that are the Jin Aiel. And when they first pick up the sword, like when they first pick up a weapon to fight with it, like they're surprisingly like talented with it. Like they're not like the Aiel, but they're not just somebody that just picked it up and is like flailing around hopelessly on the battlefield. They almost seem like they have a built-in knack for it, kind of like Aram does.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Gen Aiel, when they do it, they even kind of say straight up, it's the person like breaks the haft of the sphere and says, look, now it's not entirely a weapon. I can use it for a tool, or I can use it as a sphere, so it counts. It's cool. And that was sort of the rationale, the justification, as it were.
Yeah.
But Aram takes to the sword like a duck takes to water. He's about that life. He loves it. And immediately Perrin starts thinking, something's not right with this. Something's not right with that boy.
Well, he's generally fine until they get to after the battle. Because Perrin is also like a little watchful of Aram, because Aram becomes like pseudo religiously devoted to Fael. So I think Perrin starts having like a Gawyn and Aram flashbacks to a degree.
Wasn't the devotion wasn't the devotion originally to Perrin? Like he was really, really devoted to Perrin, and then Perrin was going through his "I'm no bloody lord" thing, and Fael kind of picked him up. I feel like Fael scooped him up and was like, I know what Perrin needs. Just follow me, and we'll be able to take care of it. And that's when he sort of shifts loyalties.
I think she passively picked him up because I think Aram notices that, like, even though Perrin is like in charge, Fael is definitely pulling a lot of strings behind things. And he's like, and I think he remembers too that Fael kind of helps convince Perrin to, let Aram be Aram, let him choose his own way in life, and that kind of stuff. And I think Aram he definitely does switch to Perrin, which for the readers, like, this is like massive, like, yet another red flag, because I'm not saying he may or may not have good reasons for it, but he very quickly dropped his allegiance to the Way of the Leaf to take up the sword. And then he, very quickly, because whenever they first met, like, he like looked down his nose at Perrin and was like, oh, you're just a stupid hick. You don't know what you're talking about. The Way of the Leaf is the way. And then now he's just like, Lord Perrin, teach me how to fight. And then when he sees that somebody else has like more power or is less reserved about violence, he drops off of Perrin and goes and attaches to that person. Yeah, because when they go to Camelin, because this is when Perrin's being like pulled back towards Rand. That's when he starts remarking that, like, Aram seems way too obsessed with the long, pointy, slashy, stabby thing. And then it's like it really sinks in after the Battle of Demise Wells is kind of concluded, and Aram's like running around being like, yeah, I'll kill the Aes Sedai. I'll just, no problem. I'll just poke him. And then Perrin's just like, dude, like, chill the fuck out.
What is he? He's like one of those dudes that like, did you see Fury with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
The tank regiment, and they get in there and they're just completely unhinged because of all the violence and the the hardship they've been through. And they're laughing 1 minute and they're screaming 1 minute and they're crying 1 minute, and these guys are just emotionally a train wreck. This is Aram.
Oh, yeah.
This dude only finds happiness in the death and destruction of his enemies. And so when they go down to Demise Wells, he like jumps right into the thickest part of the battle to kill. Like he's like, this is where they are. This is where I want to be, because I want to kill all of them. I do not want a single one of them left standing when I'm done with them.
But it's not enough for him. Like, whenever they're deciding what to do with the Aes Sedai that were taken prisoner, he's like, oh, well, they betrayed the dragon. They don't deserve to live. They deserve to die, And if no one else is willing to do it, I'll do it. I'll take them out. I've got no problem doing it. And you're just like, bro, like, they stole a Snickers bar from the convenience store. They didn't like.
Homie, it's time to chill. You need to dial that back.
Yeah. Like, he's the one demanding the death penalty for a speeding ticket. Well, not exactly. I mean, they did some definitely fucked up shit, but everybody else is like, no, we're handling it. The grown-ups are handling it. And Aram's the freaking like the freaking crackhead, but his crack is murder.
It's freaking murder. A murder most foul.
You got any of that murder laying around? But like kind of his rationale behind it, the whole like they betrayed the Lord Dragon, our savior. Because he's fully on the side of the dragon because Perrin and everybody else, and he's like, yeah, this is what's got to happen. And also, if the dragon doesn't do his thing, then everybody's mom is going to die, and I don't get to kill them, so that's not good. So we should stop it. Bro. Like this dude, Aram is like the reincarnated freaking like Jack the Ripper or some shit. Like, just wants to kill people. Like, pick a serial killer, and Aram's got like at least part of their DNA somewhere. Got a couple screws loose. He's a couple like powder grain short of a full dragon, if you know what I mean.
Hey.
Yeah. But like in a moment where he's like the most impressionable, he's still with Perrin, and Perrin's still trying to like every once in a while tell him to like calm down and like wish that he would like put the sword down, because Aram never puts the sword down. It's always with him. And he's always like fiddling with the fucking handle and everything. And Perrin's like, if you keep playing with it, it's going to fall off and you're going to go blind. And Aram's like, that's not true. So like Aram sticks with them whenever they go, whenever Perrin's sent to bring Masema into Rand, to rein in the prophet of the dragon. And that is the absolute worst fucking person that Aram could have ever met.
Yes. Yeah, that was a perfect storm. That's bad.
Like, oh, you want to meet someone who's absolutely fanatical about following the same guy you want to follow and is fine with murder?
Schmurder.
Have you met the prophet of the dragon, who commits murder and allows murder in the name of the Lord Dragon?
Yeah.
Hey, Aram, you want to go crusading? Let's do it.
Well, I think it's even like Aram, when they meet him for the first time, Aram is like in awe. Like he's in awe of the devotion that Masema seems to have towards Rand. And I feel like Aram walks in and Masema's being all crazy and insane. And Aram looks at Perrin and goes, finally, someone gets it, right?
He like looks at Masema the same way. You see the first Kung Fu Panda movie, right?
Oh yeah.
Whenever Tigress does the like mid-air full split and shatters the clay things, and like freaking Poe's just staring there with pure wonder, and then he picks up a rock to try to take it as a souvenir. Freaking Aram looking at Masema, just pure wild puppy dog eyes. Or if you watch Hazbin Hotel, whatever, freaking what's her name, Lucifer's daughter,
Charlie,
yeah. Whenever Charlie sees him like show his angelic powers, and she's like all like bright and wide eyed.
Yeah. I love it. You're so right. That's so true. Oh God, I was gonna say something I completely forgot.
Sorry.
No, you're good. This is my brain right now. This is how I function. What was I gonna say? I can't remember. Let me check my notes here.
Yeah.
See if I do that. Oh,
He's
This is another okay, and I'm about to get real controversial here because I know that Fael is a hot topic, and I'm about to drag her through the mud because Fael, we already know Fael has no compunctions about undermining Perrin and going behind Perrin's back when it's something that she thinks he needs, right? This is what's good for him. I know what's best for him. So therefore, I'm willing to ignore what he's asked me to do. I'm willing to disrespect those boundaries because it's what he needs. Okay, cool. Well, Aram is one of those boundaries where she's said, she's as much as told Aram that, you know, Perrin is kind of dumb and we just need to do the things for him that he doesn't know he needs to do. So she's already set this precedent of it's okay to undermine Perrin. It's okay to undermine Perrin. It's okay because Perrin doesn't know what he wants. Perrin doesn't know what he needs. I do. Well, here we get a perfect example of why that's a bad thing to do to someone. Because the second they show up, they start talking to Masema. They start doing their thing with Masema. Aram starts hanging out with Masema a little bit more. Now, Aram already believes that it's okay to undermine Perrin if that's what's best for him. And Masema has a way of converting people to his cause, especially zealous people who are overly zealous like Aram is. And when Masema just makes that little teeny tiny flick to no, we walk in the light, that's cool. I mean, he is the Lord Dragon's friend, you know, so that's cool. And he makes that little teeny tiny flip to, you know, he is the Lord Dragon's friend, but he's lost his way. Like, poor guy doesn't even know what he needs to do. And that echoes. I was just going to say that echoes what Fael's been saying to Aram. And don't worry about it. I know Perrin doesn't want you to call him a lord. I know Perrin doesn't want us to kill these people, but we know that that's what needs to happen. So we're going to go ahead and do it. So she's already said to Aram, it's okay to ignore Perrin.
No. So he's learning that from Fael, but also like he's just spending a lot of time with Masema, taking in the words of the prophet here. And when Masema gets his hands on some Shido captives, like the prophet of the dragon and his lackeys are torturing them.
Right.
And he brings Aram into the fold, and Aram is there with them, being like, yeah, this is what they deserve. They're, you know, they betrayed their own people, and everybody's like, that's pot calling the kettle black, but all right there, Aram, ex-Tinker. But he's all for it, like, oh, they deserve it. They're opposing the Lord Dragon. Right. And Masema's like, yeah, no, they absolutely deserve it. You know, this is what should happen to them. And this is when Perrin like directly comes into conflict with what Masema is teaching Aram. So he's taking away his fun time by like being like, no, you can't be around him anymore. You can't be like, this violence is bad. You got to stop. And using that, Masema pulls a white cloak and uses Perrin's golden eyes as like the last bit of nudge pseudo evidence,
yes,
to try to convince Aram that he's actually Shadow Spawn. And for Aram, it makes complete sense. That's why he's telling him he can't do things that our Aram knows and Fael knows would be better for him. You know, he would only say no to that kind of stuff if he actually wasn't really on the side of the dragon.
Yeah.
So when they go and attack the Shido camp again, in the middle of the battle, Aram is like, oh, double cross. I'm going to be the one that kills Perrin. I've seen him in all of this fighting over the past several months. I will be the one to kill him. And Perrin is just like, I don't want to kill this kid. Like, yeah, he's fucked up, but I don't want to kill the kid. So he's parrying and dodging all of the blows. He's a little impressed because Aram has become quite the little swordsman. But they're like, okay, Perrin's holding his own, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I don't really want to kill the kid. I need to capture him.
Yeah.
And about the time he's thinking that, one of the s5e warriors there, what is it? The
guy
Dali de Sasawa or whatever. Just freaking like kills him from behind.
Yep.
Dancers of the Sphere, yeah. One of their Dancers of the Sphere. Like, it's just like, what's that? Someone clearly not an IO with their back turned to me?
And who's carrying a sword? Die. Yeah. And
so in a bit of irony, after the s5e have caused Perrin so much pain, suffering, and annoyance, some of which spanned over the majority of 2 books and regarded his wife, they actually kind of like make the hard choice for him, and they take Aram out, which is good for Perrin, because then Perrin doesn't have to live with it on his conscience beyond the whole, I was distracting the murder hobo, so he didn't get to defend himself.
Yep. Such is the way of a fool. I mean, Aram never once was a person who, how do I word this? He lives impulsively, right? He never once made a solid, logical, difficult choice. He always made decisions based on reaction, based on how I feel right now. How do I want to feel right now? If I do this thing right now, I will feel good. It will make it better. When he decides to take up the sword and forsake the way of the leaf, he's grieving the loss of his mother. And instead of allowing the pain to take its course and to, live in such a way that allows you to say, yep, life is hard. We live difficult choices all the time. And I have a choice. I can either grieve and find a way to get through this in a healthy way, or I can just do what I think is going to make me feel good now, which is kill those that killed Mom. And when he kills a bunch of Trollocs, he's not satisfied. He doesn't find satisfaction. His zealotry for killing grows, and to where it's not only Shadowspawn that he needs to kill to feel better, it's all the evil people. Well, when you start saying all the evil people, now you've got some pretty vague standards, some pretty vague understandings and ideals of what an evil people is. Because in a war, an evil people is just the person who's on the other side of the battlefield. Doesn't necessarily matter what you're fighting for. And Aram is actually a very tragic character, a very naive and tragic character, because, we get to the end of the story, he never finds resolution. He never deals with the loss of his mother in a healthy way. Which means he never puts down that grief. He never puts down that, sadness. And the poor choices that he makes, I'm sure, give him a lot of grief and a lot of shame, which only fuel his desire to sort of double down on that anymore. Because if I'm going to suffer all this, I'm going to make it. I need to do more, clearly, to get rid of the suffering that I'm feeling right now. And it's a very, dark side of the Force, very Sith way of thinking. But it's also a very real way of thinking. People go through life facing these very, very difficult choices, these very, very difficult situations. They go through shit, literal and figurative shit. And sometimes life just is horrible, and you have to make a choice. You have to get through it in a healthy way, or you can self-medicate. You can find an addiction that will make you feel better now, but that doesn't necessarily address the root cause of the problem. And like anything, you can and will become addicted to that. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's a sword or killing or alcohol or drugs or whatever. And Aram is the perfect example of someone who does not face tragedy, does not face his stressful situations, his trauma in a healthy way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. You also have a bit of a I just realized the dichotomy between Perrin and Aram. Aram is no think, only do. Perrin is no do, only think.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because Aram doesn't really think about anything like that, and that's one of the things I think Perrin or them say whenever he's like, "I'll kill the Aes Sedai, it's no problem," and they're like, "Yeah, but what is that going to do to our relations with the White Tower and everything? It's going to make everything worse." And Aram's like, it doesn't matter. I'll kill them too. And they're just like, you can't kill everybody. Like, it's not how the world works. But then you got Perrin on the other hand that's like, spends so much of his time thinking, like, I really should do something about Aram. I really should figure this out. I really should do something. This needs to stop. Someone needs to take the sword from him. And he never actually does anything to stop him until it's too late. And then all he does is say, no, you can't come along with the murder party.
Yeah.
And then Aram is just like, no murder for me? Then I will murder you.
Yeah. No, you're right. That is perfectly spoken, because Aram is so impulsive. He's impulsive to a fault. And Aram is impulsive to a fault. And Perrin is paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. And that's something that doesn't go away until like the end of the books.
Yeah. Something I'm realizing now is Perrin's entire story through the entire series seems to be like a lesson in extremes. What it means to be too far one way or too far the other way. So, like, you have Aram, who doesn't think at all and is quick to act, and then you have Perrin, who for the most part is really slow to act and thinks about everything. You have the extremes with the Wolf Brother. You have like the example that completely ignored it and the example that completely fell into it. And at least in that one, he's got a mentor to show him like the middle ground. Then you've got the peace versus violence thing, and he finds the middle ground with choosing the hammer that could be used as a tool, but also to defend, all of defend your family or defend your cause or whatever the case is. But you also get the lesson in, like, when other people try to help you, when they actually care about you, a lot of times the things they do won't be bad for you and they'll actually help you out, like Fael. But if you continuously let other people make decisions for you and you don't ever confront them about it, there is a chance that eventually they're going to make a decision that goes very poorly. Because, well, by the time Aram turns on Perrin, is Masima already dead? Has Fael already killed him and they know?
No. Okay. No, because they, and Perrin is like traumatized as hell, but he finally has his falcon back, and he lost Aram, which makes him feel bad. And he says, I'm abandoning Masima. I am not worried about this anymore, and I'm leaving. And Fael says, well, you can't just leave him. You got to kill him. And Perrin is like, "Nuh-uh, I could just leave him." So what does s5e do? She does her s5e thing, and she goes back and kills him. Now, here's the thing: was that the right move? Yeah, it was. But she should have convinced Perrin that that was the right move, and not just gone behind his back. Because when you go behind someone's back, you set dangerous precedents that says you can do whatever the hell you want, and you don't have to care about other people's, once again, other people's boundaries, other people's feelings, other people's beliefs.
Yeah, because like the whole battle then was Perrin's forces and Massima's forces fighting the Shido that had captured s5e. And like Massima directly tells Aram, "You need to kill Perrin during this battle."
Yes.
But he believes that it's actually ordained by the Dragon Reborn, because one of the Forsaken, it's actually a female Forsaken. I don't know if who was it? Oh, which was revealed in a undated conversation between Matt Hatch and Brandon Sanderson on Theoryland. But it was a female Forsaken that was portraying herself as the Dragon Reborn, telling Massima that he needs to kill Perrin, that Perrin actually isn't on the side of the light. So yeah, but it is definitely after all of this that s5e kills him.
Yeah.
Well, s5e and a group of Two Rivers longbowmen.
Yes. And s5e.
Yeah.
Her little special force.
I thought it was just Two Rivers longbowmen. He was,
was it just?
Escape. Wasn't he like trying to escape, and the bowmen were like, "Pring."
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because that was his plan. He was like, "I'll escape, rebuild my army, come back and kill Perrin, like the dragon wants me to do."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Rand is operating under the instruction from the Snakes and Foxes at this point in time that he needs to unite everybody. So the reason he's saying bring Massima here is I can bring Massima to heal, and we can use his army because he's built a ginormous army.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he wants the army, but I think he also wants to like make an example of Massima for people that try to commit atrocities in his name that aren't against the Shadow.
Yeah. So final thoughts on Aram. Like I said, I feel like he's a very tragic character. I feel like he's a very naive character. I feel like he's equally as naive as the Emmons Fielders were when they were living in Emmons Field. I feel like the guy has zero understanding of anything of how the world works. And the second his beliefs were challenged, he crumbled. He absolutely crumbled. He was so smug, making fun of Perrin because, well, some people aren't strong enough to follow the way of the leaf. And then the first time he's met with any sort of grief, he caves. He crumbles. And he spends the rest of his life looking for that satisfaction in violence, and he just never finds it. And it's really kind of sad. It's a really sad arc, but I can't say I was sad to see him go.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like Aram from the get-go. I hate people that try to poach other people's partners. Like, if y'all are into polygamy, by all means, have fun, do your thing. If you're into monogamy and you're like, this is clearly a boundary, and somebody else knows, hey, there's a boundary, and they're like, ooh, just because there's a goalie doesn't mean I can't score, kind of thing, which is a funny joke, but people that actually try to poach other people's partners and that kind of stuff, like I can't stand that shit. Yeah, absolute scumbags. I already didn't like Aram. And then he just progressively shows that he has no spine, no backbone to stand on principle or anything. He very quickly picks up and drops things at his convenience. He only follows those aspects of teachings that align with what he wants to do, has an absolute refusal to have any sort of personal accountability for any of his actions or whatever he does. So he like gaslights the shit out of everybody. Like, no, it's what must be done. Clearly, how can you not realize this? So like the
Yeah.
sheer arrogance, and for the same reason that I don't like Gawyn, in part, I don't like Aram because it's willful ignorance and stupidity. Like all of the tools are there and they're in your face, and people are telling you that, hey, no, this isn't right. And they're showing you that, but it's not what you want to hear. So you're saying, no, you're wrong. You just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. Hate that shit. You don't even try to consider somebody else's point of view, and you're just like, no, I've got this. No, you're just dumb. That's not what's happening. I wasn't ignoring you.
Yeah.
I just didn't answer your messages. Like, no, like everybody could see what you're doing. So
I wasn't ignoring you. I was just acknowledging. I was just refusing to acknowledge that you were sending me messages.
I wasn't
and
ignoring
responding to
you.
your
I was just
messages.
answering everybody else. It's different. No, it's the same fucking thing, you absolute minge of a fucking person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't like Aram. My favorite entire thing about Aram in the books is when he gets freaking stabbed in the back, because that's what he did to Perrin figuratively, because he couldn't even land a blow because Perrin's
true.
skilled
That
badass
is
at this
true.
point. So far, my favorite part that Daryl McCormick has portrayed in the TV show is Aram getting knocked on his fucking face by a white cloak. It was fantastic. I loved it. I cheered at that point. Great job.
That was
That's
good.
where Aram belongs. Face down in the dirt.
Face down in the night. Ultimate defeat.
Face
So
down,
he's
ass
so-
up. That's the
so-
way they like to heal.
He's a big, strong man with a child's brain. Don't you take his foes away. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely episode of the Black Tower Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of Aram. What do you think about Aram, the Tinker with a sword? Do you think we're right? Do you think we're wrong? Do you like Aram? Was there something about Aram that we didn't discuss, but that you would like to discuss? Leave a comment below. Also, totally free way to help us support the channel is to leave a like. Just click the like button real quick and just click the subscribe. That's all you have to do. Super easy, super simple. Yes. We got him coming in right at the end. Yes, we did. Yes, we
Great lengths.
did.
We discussed how Aram is a dick.
Aram is a
Just something about being taken in by a guy that you have already been an asshole to and his entire crew, and then turning around and trying to kill them means you're a dick.
Perfect. Well, but thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. Thanks for being amazing. Thank you for being especially awesome whilst slugging down this week's dose of taint. We appreciate you, and we hope that wherever you are in the world, whenever you are in the world, we hope you leave here just a little bit more insane than you were when you first started the show. From all of us here at the Black Tower, I am Josh, the Sora von Mahale, saying bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I would love if that's the last thing anybody heard. Bye-bye. I've been Andrew, your Bajon Mahale, and if you take anything away from this week's episode, just don't be an Aram. If people take you in, don't try